Wholeness.
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 Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so yeah, so today's welcome everybody. So today's topic is, do you have a daily practice? And if so, what is it? So we're just gonna do a little quick intro. Would you be, if you want to go ahead and start, just to bring us into the space?
Sure. Wholeness, everybody. My name is Dea Swijby. I am one of the founding founders of Abundance Portals. And my specific expertise is in womb healing, self cultivation, and I love what I do, which is now working for myself. and yeah, wholeness, everybody.
Wellness. Wellness, everyone. My name is Veronica. I'm also one of the founding members of Abundance Portals. And I am very much in love with this experience of consciousness that is happening right now. And I'm a mother of two boys, ages 11 and 13. I work from home. I administer abundance portals, and I have actually just recently started a at-home business in terms of marketing and social media, which has been quite lovely of a transition. And I've just recently transitioned out of a more corporate position, and yeah, just been coming through in here to just deliver the transmissions and the experience as it's coming through, and just very grateful to be able to be a witness to everything and sharing the space with everybody. So thank you, and wholeness.
Wholeness, everyone. I am Tiara, also a founding member of Abundance Portals, and I am a mom of two boys as well, 15 and 3. I'm a maternal health expert, all things maternal health, birth doula, midwife assistant, herbalist. I like to incorporate just all natural healing aspects of everything, when wellness, and just on this spiritual journey like the rest of you. Happy to be here, happy to be in the space this evening. And we have a really great topic for you tonight, which is just our daily practices, our rituals. And should we go ahead and get into that?
Yes, thank you, sister. Beautiful. So who wants to start?
I can. It's fine.
Great.
So, as I stated before, I am a mom of two. So, I have all the bases covered as far as like the age gap from a 15-year-old to a 3-year-old. So, I have to wake up super early. Typically, I get up around 3 or 4 so that I can have my AM time to myself. I need that time to myself. I need the quiet time. And when I first wake up, I do my meditation. And I also read from a few different books. And today, or like these days lately, I've been reading from Journey to the Heart. And it's just literally like daily excerpts that typically for me are right on time. Like what I need for that day is literally what I read for the day. So I love this book, Journey to the Heart. And I also do my journaling in the AM. I'll just journal whatever I feel like I need to for the day, different emotions, different uh, topics that I feel like I need to release, different ideas, whatever journaling looks like for me that day. That's what I do in the AM. And then I do like my self-care because I do like to take my time and get dressed and just focus on me. So, if I want to get up and work out, or if I just whatever I want to do in the morning, I need to get up before my children so that I can get those things done. But I do my daily affirmations. Um, and I mean, this is what I like to do, and this is how I like for my day to go, but it doesn't always go that way. Because sometimes I do sleep in or I'll oversleep. And so, I'm trying to get dressed with them, or, they're on my heels, and I still have to get the little bit in there. So I may do like a quicker 10-minute meditation, or, I say my affirmations while I'm in the shower and I multitask with it. but these are like my rituals, and I like to have my time at my altar to myself as well. And so I'll do that without them there. I burn my sage, my palo, just do whatever I need to do to get me going and cleanse myself so that I can start my day off right and get in the space that I need to be in to face the day. So that's my morning routine, and I hate to use the word morning, but that's my AM routine. Um, and of course, I have an evening one too, but I'll let you guys go ahead and come back around to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I can go. So I'm not as good as Tia because my morning routine is funny. Like it usually involves me getting up and working. So and it's been like this for maybe a couple of years now. In terms of setting my day. So I get up and I do some work so that it can be out of the way. And and then my day would then start. Um, it really more involved more physical in terms of like getting my tea. That's the biggest thing for me in the morning, to do like the warm water and tea first thing. So basically, before I get out of bed, I start working because we all work out of the phone. So it's because I do a lot of like greetings to everybody or setting up meetings in the morning, and then once I get out of bed, it's really more getting getting my body on. And depending on the day, some days I have classes. If I have a class early, a couple of times a week, I have a class early with my teacher. I'm a late sleeper as well, so therefore I don't wake up pretty early lately. Um, so yeah, so then I would go on to my classes, and then which would give me my whole set of meditation. The thing that I've been able to do is to incorporate work with my practice. So it's been interesting that everything becomes like one. It's not like separate. So it depends, this could be like a cheap practice, meditation. Also, depending if I'm taking classes, it could be that me waking up in the 3 in the morning and spending like 6 hours, like just practicing. So it's really more so putting it in, and then being able to be flexible without a routine, but within the flexibility, still doing all the stuff that I need to do, which would involve like, self-care, which would involve, making sure like, I do my teas, I do my vitamins, I do like, all of these type of things, getting the water in, getting the meditation in, and as long as all of it, flows throughout the day, because not every day is like the same. So I'm lucky I only have one child. And if, most of the children are home from school, but he's homeschooled. So, it's I've gotten to incorporate even him in my routine, where it's like, he gets up as well and do some of the same thing that I'm doing. So it's been a process. Let's put it that way.
Awesome. Beautiful. No, I can definitely relate to, not every day is the same. So, but I really found that, and thank you, sisters, both of you, for sharing in depth what it looks like for you. I definitely feel like my day-to-day practices have evolved over the years. It's definitely not the same today as what it even was, 2 or 3 months ago. I found that my body was really starting to ask me for a different kind of structure. And because my sleeping patterns had changed drastically, meaning like I was needing less sleep, but that didn't really mean anything to me because I still wasn't understanding how I needed to manage my awake time, with my kids here at home all the time, and now working from home all the time. So I felt that with so much liberty, right? Like I just felt that I needed, which was actually kind of engaging me a little bit more because all of a sudden I realized I needed structure. And so part of my practice was began shifting even a couple months ago, where I started to say, okay, well, I am going to begin my day with me, because that's just become very clear, and we even learned that through Sister Wijabi's womb healing class, is that, one of the main things that I've taken from that, which I remember when we began, was that it's important, or how important it really is, to begin the day with you, as everything moves and is birthed through you. And so I started incorporating that last year, and I've really stuck with that. And now it's become a process of me waking up between 4 and 5 a.m. because the house is loud, I mean, it just really is with the kids. And, I live with my family currently, and that's the only time that I feel I can really hone in, when everybody else is asleep and before the sun comes up. That is that, known as the Amrit Vela hours. And I just am able to do my breath work. So I start with 30 minutes of breath work. I do 10 minutes of my left nostril, 10 minutes of my right nostril, and then I do my alternate nostril breathing, where I hold my two fingers at my third eye, and I'm just alternating the breath in between both nostrils, and really, just going through the process of balancing the hemispheres. And that seems to be working amazing for me. I've been huge on breath work for a couple years, but this, I've taken like the discipline, I would say, to a different level. And now it's just something that like I don't want to miss. This is something that I truly look forward to on a day-to-day basis. So that's just more of a ritual, for lack of a better word, because because it is something that I have, a structure with. I wake up at this time, I do the breath work first. Then I go into, right after the breath work, I go into my automatic writing, because I find that throughout the breath work, a lot of things tend to come up, depending on where I am in my life, and, how much is kind of lingering through the subconscious. So sometimes I do have a lot of things that are coming up to be released. And so that's where the automatic writing comes in. So I spend a few minutes doing that, and pretty much just until I feel like it's out of me, basically. So I'll be doing that. And then I do the body tapping, which is, again, it's just something that I incorporated intuitively from the sisters class, and that I started doing last year, but more recently, just to really be able to integrate all the energy that I build up with the breath and distribute it, yes, throughout the body, which again was confirmed today in the class that we did with her today. So it's just really just very beautiful, very synchronistic. And then I do about 30 minutes of breath of fire, which I'm huge on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in my morning time, but I do find some time throughout the day to do like 20 or 30 minutes of it. Some days it looks like 10, some days it looks like 15, but in between there, I do find time to do that, because I find that it releases so much of my toxins, and it just strengthens my nervous system, my parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. And again, it just balances me, and I feel energized. I feel like it's a very just go-to practical way to energize my being, and gets me focused. I feel very alert after doing that. And that's pretty much it in terms of going in there and consciously, dedicating myself to a practice. But as the sister said, it's kind of like now also morphed into the rest of my life, morphed into the rest of my reality, where you bring the breathing and the breath work consciously into day-to-day aspects. So yes, if I'm doing work on my computer and working on the business or whatever I'm doing, I'm also bringing attention and bringing the consciousness into whatever it is, streaming that into whatever it is that I'm doing. So I will be consciously aware of my breath. And I found it really interesting that when I first started doing this, it wasn't so easy. It's like not so easy at the beginning when you're like cooking to actually be conscious of just the diaphragm and just, the breath doesn't seem to come as easily at first. It seems almost forced. So you kind of get into a rhythm and into a practice. This was my experience anyway. So, but the more I did it, the more I, was just in whatever space I was in, doing whatever I was doing, the more I began to practice, the attention to my breath and really bringing that into everything that I was doing. And that's when I started to really see how, my experiences in the space with other people would really shift quite drastically. And so that's when I really began to dive a little deeper into the breath. So that's where I am personally with everything. And again, it's like it's just a practice where it's me practicing me so that I can hear myself more clearly in everything I'm doing, so that I can hear what I'm trying to guide myself to do, and building that connection with the higher self. It's just a practice of practicing everything as much as my awareness is available to me to do so anyway. So
Wholeness, sister. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of that resonated with me, like with the breath work and the structure and the routine. And I forgot too, Sister Witchby, I'm like you with the warm water and lemon or lime in the AM. And I do my teas in the evening for the most part. It's part of my evening routine. But what I did find was when I worked in corporate, I was more structured, so to speak. I had to be there at a certain time, or, flexible, but just to get my workload completed, I wanted to be there early so that I could get out super early too and get there to pick up my son. But I found in corporate, we were much more structured. Like we had a set schedule, a set routine, and the the days were smooth. And I was able to get up and do everything I felt like I needed to do prior to my day starting. But I did used to get up and work right away too. And I found when I work right away, I would run into these snags where it's like I never really got to break away to have that time to myself. And so that's why that's changed for me, where now when I wake up, that time is to myself. But I would immediately get up. I'm checking emails. I have to see what's going on. Are there any fires to put out? And that was like the first thing in my mind. And, I never got that stillness. And I feel like that kind of shaped my day. And it set me up for, whatever was to come. I was just set up for not being able to be in control of my day. And so I found that when I switched that over, although when I switched over and now been an entrepreneur, my schedule is very flexible, sometimes almost too flexible, where I'll still get to do the routine in the AM, but it's not as structured. Or, you get what I'm saying? Like I traded one for the other. So with corporate, I get the time that I need and I'm able to bam, 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 hit it. But I was also sometimes I would work, prior to me doing those things for myself. And then when I switched it over, it was okay, I can do all of these things, but I'll do them, maybe not at the same time every day. Or I'm more relaxed with it where, my time is a little bit more free. So it's a trade, but it works out.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. For me, corporate was when I didn't have any time for myself. Like it was like zero time because everything was like, because I worked so much, so it was like get up, like you get up, drag yourself out of bed, shower, rushing out the door, I was always running around when I worked, and So I've been able to slow that down the past, 100% in the past year, you know, when I totally went, online in terms of like working. And so, yeah. And so that has really freed me, I feel like, to do whatever it is that I want to do with my time. But when I was corporate, I remember eating in the car. Like,
Mhm.
you're driving and coffee and eating, driving. Sometimes even the makeup is being put in the car. Um, rushing to bring my son to this class, rushing to bring like if it's either to this appointment or, and then going to work, and all of that was my life, because it was like involved. Sometimes I would also have two jobs. um no, not well, that hasn't changed, but but in terms of like, now it's like myself, it's more really what is it that I want to do. And I know not everybody's in my situation where I am able to make everything my lifestyle, like my work, my lifestyle. um so it's but this has really, made everything loose. Yeah, and I don't know if it's a good or bad habit that the first thing that I do is work. I've been able to also automate some of this stuff as well, so that has helped a little bit. But in terms of like making sure though, no matter what, some of the core, core practices are done. That's the key to me. And even making sure like even Bradley does them as well. My son does them as well. So it's you know a lot of the practices, by what I mean by practices in meditation, um, my chi work, my chi practices, that those kind of exercises, taking care of myself, that kind of thing, is very important. Making sure, like, because to me, like, even taking, vitamins and minerals, and, doing my Hydrolux water, like, it's like, oh, wait, I have to get that in today, making the tea, all of those becomes part of my ritual of things that I know I need to do, and I'm specifically doing them because they're related to my health, they're related to the health of my physical self, my spiritual self, and my emotional self. Um, and that's been really life changing, like 100, and I don't know what is it, not 100, not 360 for me, um, in my life, because I remember when I worked again those two jobs or three jobs, sometimes when I didn't have time, it was like you work and then you're just too tired and just fall dead asleep, and the next day it's the same thing and everything becomes a blur. While now it's really, I have time to pause, and contemplate, you know and it's become where I can spend most of the day in contemplation, um, and even meditation. Sometimes it's not even about me finding a time to meditate. It's because I can basically spend the whole day in contemplation, which would put me in that state, depending on how it's going, and what practice I'm if I'm consciously doing a certain practice. It could be like a whole thing that revolves around, again, my lifestyle. So of course, it's always, I think, like, it's a practice. So it depends on where we at the moment, and what it is that is of interest. That's how I'm in, and I'm not being hard on myself as well to just say I have to do something, or because I actually do find a lot of the stuff that I do enjoyable, and that's like a major thing. I enjoy the meditation. I enjoy my time. I enjoy, like, it's funny, like, you see the chair I'm sitting on. It's one of my favorite spots. Like, I love these meditation chairs. So it's been, yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Veronica.
No, yeah. I mean, just to echo off of that, like, for me, it was very clear that like I needed to have a structured setting in the morning to kind of balance out the rest of my day, because it's challenging. It's challenging to have the kids home. I mean, you guys know, especially, I think, well, each of us know to our own experience, but it was challenging for me, and to have the kids here, knowing that they're, now that they're being homeschooled, and I have to now really incorporate, not just like obviously the physical activity, also the practice of just of the body, of some sort of exercise for myself, but then also bringing that in for the kids, because they're not at school every day doing, an hour of their PE class, or having recess and running around on the playground and playing sports, or playing basketball like they used to do and stuff like that. So it's like now all of that has fallen onto my plate, and I will happily receive it, because hey, listen, I'm glad the kids are home, and I am so happy that now this has all been served in my experience to transition them into a full throttle homeschool setting. And but it has really created a shift in me, where I needed to understand, like, I could easily get overwhelmed if I'm not practicing myself. I could easily, because that was for sure happening. I was for sure getting, it's like all the gnosis and all the knowledge that goes right out the window when you are faced sometimes with something like a drastic shift. And that's when you're really tested. And that's when I felt, well, that's certainly when I felt like I was really being tested. And I said, okay, I really have to like level up and up my game and take this a lot more seriously now, because serious yet not so serious, right? But I felt like there's a lot more that needs to be navigated now. And I trust that, if that's what's coming into my sphere, it certainly is because I can handle it and because I'm equipped to handle it. But I wanted to, again, as the sister said, like, I don't want to feel rushed, and I want to enjoy the process. Certainly, if I've transitioned out of a certain type of job or a certain type of structure, I'll call it, then yes, there is all this more free flow and stuff, which is beautiful in its own right. However, it's like I definitely see the importance of creating structure and understanding how to do that and what that needs to look like for my life to work at a more optimal level, at a more optimal pace for me and where I am in my life. More recently, I've been definitely incorporating more of just the exercise, just seeing like how important it is for me to be able to do something on a day-to-day basis, even if it's just going for a walk. In my 20s and even like my early 30s, I was still like playing soccer just for fun, because I played soccer my entire life. Like, Tiara, I know that you're a runner. Like, running was like your sport. That's what you did your entire life. I was never a person that wanted to be, in the gym. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I was just a person that needed to be active in that way, where I was in a group setting. And certainly now it's like, well, I don't have, that's not something that is currently in my environment, where I can go and play a sport nearby. But certainly I can go, on a bike ride. So I've been doing that a lot. I've been doing that a lot with the kids. That's something that so that we've been able to share in that practice together, because before it was different, where, I had the kids at school and then it was me, and even if I was working at home, or I was working semi at home and working at an office, there was still something that felt like, again, just that structure. There was a routine there that was in place, and part of that was in place because my kids had a structure and a routine in place, so now that's completely up to me as to what I want that to look like. So definitely been running more, been biking more, and I just feel how much that part of me like complements the rest of what I'm doing, complements, just the breath work. For example, when I go running now, I'm pretty surprised at how much I can go or how I feel when I'm running. And I know that's just a product of me doing, the breathing, the conscious breathing, and how much that helps and how much that's facilitated my lungs and stuff and cleared that. And yeah, I it changes and it shifts, and I'm always, exploring. This is something that I'm always exploring, just to figure out, I'm never too rigid in terms of, not incorporating something that I feel like intuitively is calling me. So for example, if like I've had a lot of lower back pain in the last, Woodby knows this, in the last month or so. And so I know that there's some blockage there. And I know that had a lot to do with my sacral and for other, other things that were taking place. And so it's like, what do I need to incorporate, And so if you have the tools and that you have tools to be able to ease that area and clear yourself of the blockages, and it's just a matter of me like listening and saying, okay, how do I need to take care of you, that part of you that is in pain? Yes, send it love, but like, what do I actively need to do to address that issue? And so I started doing like more of my pelvic exercises, and I started incorporating a little bit more of my yoga into my routine that is specific to that area. And so that's really been helping. So more so just to explain that this is something that continues to evolve, and that maybe doesn't look the same every day, and I'm completely okay with that. In fact, I do like that, but I do have certain parts of the practice that do for me need to be disciplined, because I can be very undisciplined. Like the child in me can be very undisciplined, hands down, like full disclosure. So I know that if I don't, as my brother Dom always likes to remind me, it's about putting the child in its proper place. And sometimes he says that and I'm like, oh man, I hear it. Okay. Like I hear it. And it rings so true for me personally, because well, that's just like what I need. I just know that that's what I need. I need to be able to commit to that, on a daily, and try, just enjoy the process. Really, just enjoy the process as as much as you're able to.
Absolutely. I didn't learn early on in life that discipline was the highest form of self-love.
Yeah.
But it came to me. I think I was 28, so almost 10 years ago,
Yeah.
when I figured that out.
Discipline is the highest form of self-love. I just want to say that out loud because it just feels so good to say that. I fully received that, sis. Thank you.
But that discipline, when I learned it, I knew that I was disciplined early on because I was always an athlete. So I had the discipline as far as I had to be at practice. I had to, you worked hard because I was very competitive. And I don't want to get off topic here, but when I figured out that discipline was the highest form of self-love when I was 28, my life was I mean impeccable in every aspect, every area of my life. I was able to excel, and that was like the best time of my life. I was able to manifest at the drop of a dime. I was physically fit, but I was completely disciplined. And I know that right now my life lacks that discipline, but I'll get it together. And I mean, it's a work in progress, and it's about progression, not perfection. So it's a work in progress daily. But I do feel like that structure and the routine of things will create the environment for the discipline that you need. And so that is why I think it's important to have these AM routines or rituals or what have you. And, at night, and just simply with the kids, like Tyler used to have a bedtime routine. And it wasn't always at the same time, but he knew, we eat dinner, we wind down, we take a bath, we read books, we go to bed.
Right.
And it wasn't always at 8 p.m., but it was always in that order. And so when you can, create that space in the brain where okay, this is coming. And kids, they flourish that way. They need the structure, they need the discipline. And when you do that early on and it sticks with them, they have it. And it's like once you know it, it's like riding a bike. Even if you stray away from it, that's what you need to get back to, in order to excel. You never forget it. So I feel like these daily rituals and daily routines are completely necessary for us to, be our best selves.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. From Yeah, I again, like I don't know how disciplined I am. I'm not a stickler. However, I do the stuff. Like I'm not a stickler, I should say, for time, on time specific. But I do get it in. And so in a way, like, because I think, it depends on you. It's good to have the discipline, also have like the flexibility of movement within it so that you don't feel stuck. And that it doesn't become like a burden. Again, like I said, like, so that's why I said I don't know how disciplined I am. Like if you would, because I get in the work. I just don't know if I get it in like at, hey, this time or that time. Um, at certain times, I do feel that I may need it though, and this is where I say like I leave it flexible for fluidity, so that when I need a certain thing, I can reach for it. Sometimes depending on what I'm going through in my life, I may need to wake up early and do that bath, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so that it may be something that's needed either for the body, for nutrition, or for the mind to be calm, and for the spirit to get it together. um, so this is one of the things I've learned about myself, because sometimes, like, I'll push a certain, habit, and then it just won't flow. But at the same time, like, I definitely see where I need it, at times, within my life, where it will help me. There's time, let's put it this way: for the summer, I spent 8 weeks waking up at 3 in the morning, to do this class, and the class was 6 hours. So, and every day,
That
you
would
know.
be disciplined.
That's discipline, right?
I mean,
So
come
that's
on.
what
Discipline.
so this is what I mean in terms, and then of course there's times where it's like, okay, I wake up, but then, I'll wake up at 11 o'clock, instead of like, the 3 in the morning. So I leave that room. And again, the key for me is like to have a practice to take care of yourself, you know.
Yeah.
So that's number one. The practice is not just a practice because I owe it to somebody, or I'm doing it for somebody, or I'm gonna get something out of it. This is directly because I know these are ways of taking care of the self on the physical level, on the emotional level, on the spiritual level. And if you're not doing these, you're basically abusing your body, you're abusing your mind, your heart. And, many people, and I was guilty of this, forget this, because you're taking care of your children, you're thinking, oh, I'm a mom, so I have to get up and I have to take care of my child. And I need money, I have to work, so I have to get up and go to work, versus I get up and I take care of me. And I get up and and the day is about, my practices and what I do to take care of myself emotionally. Because I can tell you, when I didn't do that, it destroyed me, and maybe I did need to be destroyed. It's not a punishment. Sometimes when you get destroyed, it's really showing you a part of yourself that needs to be renewed. You get destroyed, don't need to be reborn again, right? not in the religious sense, disclaimer. But um, so in terms of like really, because there are some things that I was doing that was really detrimental, forgetting about my emotional self, not taking care of my physical being. People may not know, and they see me now, they may think, oh, she's a heavy set girl. No, I was 300 pounds. So this is half, like more, less than half of who I was, for years. And so it's been a great journey for me, and I'm proud of, like, the me at 300, as I am now, because again, we are all part of the journey of the self. And so, this is why the practice, so that we can really hone in into, like, what is it that I need, what is it that I want, who am I, and that's one of those big questions, so that you don't get lost in the things that you do. We get lost in the title of mother. We get lost in the title of, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I'm that, versus like really looking inside and seeing the being that you are. And that being is having this beautiful experience, and it's not about a title, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. And I do think as mothers, we lose our way. We tend to, and not all mothers, but some will get lost in mothering and we'll get stuck in that mother phase. And we
Mothering,
have to find,
smothering.
correct. But truly finding your way back to that, and me finding my way back to that, I was that's when I created the idea for the self-love, the retreats, because I was learning that I could not pour from an empty cup, and I needed to take back time for myself. And it wasn't selfish, but I think selfless. And much like they tell you, secure your mask on the airplane before you try to help others, because if you're not any good for yourself, then you're no good for anyone else. And so I know that, it's hard, because it's hard for me even when I tried to do like my yoga in the AM when Zane was a little bit younger, and I'm sitting there, he's like ripping my shirt off, he's hanging on the boob, I'm trying to pose, and it just gets hard. And it's like, I know that that's a fragment of me. That was just like today, earlier today when we were on the call doing the meditation, he was like so loud and just really distracting. And when I finally accepted it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, roll through it anyway, he joined me. But it took for me to accept that he was a distraction to me, like, okay, and let me incorporate him into it. And then he started to do the meditations. He's like this. And he was able to breathe in deep, and he was following your prompts, and we got through it. But I feel like as mothers, we have to get creative, and sometimes we do need to hide in the bathroom and just, you have that time to yourself. I like to read, but I can't always read with the loud noise and the movement. And so, you just get creative. So just figuring out ways, but definitely the power of routine is, and the structure and the discipline is unmatched.
That's so funny. You said the thing about hiding in the bathroom. I couldn't hide in the bathroom. You figured out where I was.
I know.
I just go in there and just know that they just know I'm not coming out until I'm ready to come out. That's what's happening.
This used to be so funny. My son would be on the bed. Let's say I'm in the room. He's in the room. Okay, and then I get up and I go to the bathroom. He follows me and just lays down on the floor.
I go through that every day now. And literally, I'm like, what is it? He's like, I need you. Like, what do you need? What? And then when I open the door and come out, he's back to playing, like perfectly fine. It's just the mental thought of,
You're
I've closed him off.
Yeah. They just want your presence. That's what it boils down to with the kids. It's just like they just want to feel mama there, like the presence, like the body. That's what's become clear for me, but just to highlight what I feel like both of you were saying was, just about the cultivating like that self-care. I mean, I feel that is the discipline though. You know what I mean? That is the discipline, is it takes a disciplined mind to say, no, I'm choosing me. I'm choosing myself first before whatever else needs to happen throughout the day. It's going to come through me. So my in my thought process, as I'm mining my thoughts, you're developing that discipline that is essentially saying, listen, whatever else is going to happen throughout the day is going to go this way. It's going to go A, B, and C, or whatever the case is, but it needs to start with me, and how I love on myself, and how much attention I'm paying to myself, and how much I'm tuning into my body and what it's saying, and what, maybe if there's something I've been neglecting, maybe if there's something I've been avoiding, am I sitting in my silence long enough? Am I really tuning in? Or am I getting lost in those roles, the roles that we came here to play? Because there is roles. There is, Veronica the mother. There is Veronica the sister. There is Veronica the daughter. There is Veronica, the entrepreneur. There is Veronica the teacher, right? And it's just like all these roles, but how can I get back to what I am at my core, that seed, that center, the soul essence of what I am? And so that is what I feel the discipline is to understand, well, my identification, where I'm at, where I feel like we are all at essentially, but I'll speak for myself, is to identify with the soul. This is the role that I'm always looking to identify with, which is what I am, which is what I am at my core. You look like you're gonna say something.
I love that you said that because sorry. I
Yeah.
said I love that you said that, identify with the soul, because it's about not buying into the story. See, a lot of times when we
Mm-hmm.
talk, people talk about history and they're thinking about history of books, of his, what's false, and in terms of like saying, well, they lied about this history, and they like, and it's like it's his story, not her story. Like the thing is, like, it's still talking about a third
Yep.
person, if you notice.
Yes.
And even the story that you tell yourself about your life is still a perception.
Exactly.
And so this is where, again, we play the different roles, right? You have the role of the mother. Think about, like, when you're in that space where I'm a mother, I have a mindset, my concentration, my awareness is there. Depending on the age of the child, you may be really involved, less involved, or, you know what I mean, have a different, even different aspect of the mother will show up. And then we'll go into, if you go into like your workspace, and then you run into that role, and then you could be business, like, try to talk to me when I'm like, taking care of Bradley and I'm sweet and I'm motherly, versus talking to me when I'm in a business meeting. You'd be like, wow, that's two different people. And
Mhm.
I am, so don't buy into the story of yourself, and really pull out and examine this personality, so that you can see all its faults, all its greatness, and all its, for all that I am. And then, and not so attached to it, so that when I'm no longer that, because my son grow, my mother personality has to shift and change, and I don't get stuck into, this is one of the things that I even see with my own mom, where, I'm way, way, way older, but I don't think she'll ever see me as that old person, because I'm like
Mm-hmm.
so close to being 50 years old. But my mom is still regarding me at 5, like I'm a 5-year old. And in that respect, it's like I can't relate. We can't relate to each other, because she's looking at me from a different perspective of how I'm being and how I'm embodying myself, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so and then it would seem that I'm a stranger, or I'm being rude, or or we have the conflict, because again, like when we do this, it would create a conflict within the relationship, because I'm not responding as how as a 5-year-old that she wants, that's gonna let her be responsible for me. When I'm like, if this is here, that's fine, because I want it there. But it's not, it's not your job, nor do I need for it to be moved. Now, if again, and that's one of the things that I really consciously, like, do with Bradley, where I let him make his decision, and I pull away, so that it's, he's allowed to grow within himself without feeling that I'm like, hey, you only stay, even though I do pull him over and I'm like, where's my baby? Like, because he's so tall, and he's no longer like the baby you can hold in your hand. And I understand the feeling. I just don't want to be stuck in it, though, because then we
Mm-hmm.
pigeonhole people into these personalities and archetypes all the time. So just saying that, don't buy into the story of your life, even. Say
Mhm.
something. Go ahead, honey.
Right. You both kind of touched on it, as far as the prompts. Like you said it, which be before Veronica talked, and I meant to go back and touch on it. But like the routine looks completely different from you as you're changing, as you're growing. We're constantly evolving and devolving, as you would say too. But the only thing that's constant is change. And I think we need to allow ourselves the space to change. And when we change, what that old routine did for us, it no longer serves us. It's time to let that go. Then we step into the new routine. So I think that does go back to just following the prompts, how, you may get up and you may feel like you need to take a bath and you need to soak, or, you need to have that ritual, or you need to take a class. You're constantly changing, and I think we need to stay flexible. And I live by this. You guys have heard me say it before, but the journey keep the journey flexible. Destination stays the same. And I think with the routine of things, the destination there is self-care and self-love.
Mhm.
And so just when you follow those prompts, or when you're in tune and you're tapped in
Yeah.
and aware of what you need, and you act on it, when you get those impulses, you follow those prompts and you do what you need to do for yourself in that moment and in that time. And that's even routine, or a ritual, or whatever, what have you, to make it through the day or
Um,
that phase of your life.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just the self-care, self-love, and there's so much that those phrases are used so loosely sometimes, and I don't feel this is the space that we're using it loosely, by the way, but it's become like a whole industry, right? Like the self-love and self-care, it's become a whole industry, like everything, right? So really, but it's like, what does that mean for you? What does that look like for you? Yesterday I kind of woke myself up to how much there's lingering aspects of me that I'm still trying to get on board with the higher aspect of me, and that it resists giving giving me the proper care and nurturing, like what's nourishing for me, what's nurturing and nourishing for my soul, for the being that is me, that is truly me. There's a resistance, and it was so loud yesterday, because, and I share this because perhaps whoever's listening in the now, or whatever point outside of time, it will assist, because I realized that what was coming through is, Monica, you need to take a rest. Your body needs a rest. Your your cycle, is in a weird transitory state right now. I was feeling really heavy, and my body was just saying, it was just asking to be soaked and relaxed. and I needed to give myself a couple hours at least to do that. And I realized that the moment that that thought form entered, all I had immediately had like 5 reasons presented in my external reality of why I couldn't do that, why I wanted, those aspects of me wanted to convince me that these other 5 or 6 things was actually more important than me taking that time out for myself. And in noticing that, I noticed how I kept, so this is me observing what I was doing and how I was carrying on, although everything was telling me, go take a bath, go close the door, go do whatever it is that you need to do so you can get yourself together. Because that was the point. Like, I just needed to get myself together. And I realized, how often I use the role of a mother or role of working, of building a business and things of that nature as an excuse. Sometimes I feel like we use that as an excuse as to why, we can't give ourselves what we truly need in order to be able to just be, just really allow ourselves to be in the moment and not feel like I have to let things fall apart all the time in order to give myself those things. Because that's the thing. Like, I realized that I had, been very highly programmed to get to a state of crisis in my life or within my body in order to respond to it. It was always like in form of reaction in order to actually pay attention and say, oh, okay, now I'm going to do this for myself. And so now I'm really learning and sometimes it still is that way. Don't get me wrong. Like, I very much still have those points in my life where it's just like, okay, you have no other option now, Veronica, and you really need to take care of this part of your being. But I seem to be definitely, I do feel myself going into a space where now that I can observe that and I can see that there are aspects of me that are trying to shift me away from doing what I feel is a requirement in order to get myself together and to feel good and to love on myself and just to give myself my birthright, essentially, just to be able to claim it as much in every moment and what that actually looks like. And, just to close it in, it took me like an hour to finally decide to say no to everything around me, including the kids in that moment, because I knew that whatever was happening was essentially something that could wait. And what was the word that you used earlier, Would about the mothering and the smothering,
Oh.
the smothering part of me just kind of smothering in a way where I just wanted to make sure that they're taken care of. And it's almost like I even felt the kids saying, just go do you and take care of yourself, like we'll be fine, And that's when I realized, like, oh yeah, they are going to be fine. Like, what am I tripping about, And so it's like me sometimes using that role or the roles that we carry as an excuse to not really take care of like the core of our being, And that was super loud for me yesterday. So I ended up just having a really great day, actually, because I just allowed myself to flow in the bath in a lavender soaked magnesium salt bath. And for like an hour, and just in complete darkness, by the way, I didn't have anything on, I didn't have music. I just wanted the silence and I wanted to just be able to float in the water. And I felt, and I'm telling you, that completely revived my entire state of being. And just because I took and I understood what it meant to me, the message that I was sending myself, in just taking the action of doing that and just simply just doing that. The message that I was giving myself into my being was everything. It was just everything in that moment for me. So
one of the things that I think that needs to also happen is the allowing. And it doesn't, a lot of times, like, we're waiting for somebody else to do the allowing, like, allow, but it's also has to come from the self. Like, allow yourself to go through the process and be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
So this, like, this allowing, there's a letting go, but our allowing needs to happen before letting go. And because if you're not allowing things to take their course, their natural course, then what is it that you're letting go of in the first place? Because then if you're not allowing the process to take place, then you're not going to fully let go. That's what I mean. And that includes, again, allowing our children, to grow and to have their own process, allowing yourself to grow, being patient with yourself. And this is why the contemplation and the meditation and the understanding, like, this week we're working on the healing work, and it's like about, understanding the negative. One of them is like understanding the negative emotion and not bypassing and saying, oh, I don't want to feel anger, so I'm gonna feel good, and you're still angry underneath, though.
Right.
Because you then allow the anger to take its course and its proper course, and now it becomes bottled, right? It's bottled up, and then now it's going to blow and explode, and it's going to do whatever it wants, instead of you being able to funnel, instead of you being able to channel it to where it is that you need it. And that's how you use the energies, and that's how you would use the emotions, where whether it's a negative or positive emotion, you want to be able to channel it to where you need it. And then it's not about denying any part of yourself, because you've allowed you, the natural being that you are, to process anything and everything that you need. And that's why, again, to me, like, practices, like whatever it is you decide as your ritual, is important to to have, so that you can build on your foundation, so that you can strengthen your foundation and your roots, and you're like able to. So it's always important to strengthen your roots and then fly off to wherever it is that you want to. you know so that would be the other thing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Absolutely, the allowance. Thank you. And
Yeah.
ladies, we're hitting that 1 hour mark.
So
We can certainly keep going.
well, I mean, to round up, but we talked about, what is your practice. Then the question is, like, and we also talk about, like, why is the practice, working for you? Like, why is it good for? Because the thing is this, if you don't have a practice, you're, how do you call it, I'm thinking of Whoopi Goldberg, when she said in the ghost story, like, you're in danger, girl. you know
I love that movie.
because if you are not doing this work, you're neglecting yourself, and you'll pay for it sooner or later in diseases. That's the thing. you know when you're not taking care of the self, you pay for these things, because later on they turn into, that's what those bottled up emotions, when you're not releasing, when you're not allowing, they turn into, all sorts of diseases that destroy the body, that destroy the heart, that and then the spirit can't go anywhere, because it's swimming in murky water, and the spirit needs to flow. It needs to, really swim in, it's in dew. So you can't, let it, let anything happen to block the way. And so what you do when those things come in is to unblock. So it's important to, let the process happen. So it's like, so yes, um, what practices do you have? Why we have these practices? How do they help you? And to grow, into yourself, in total, like, whatever it is, like, if it's a strict one, if it's a loose one, but something that, that's working for you, and definitely making sure that you're taking care of the self, of the inner self.
Absolutely. Oh, sister, I heard that. You in danger, girl. My sister's gonna laugh when she sees this because she says that all the time. So on point. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just, and that's the thing is that, it's oftentimes the disease or dis-ease that is that brings us to that state of awareness at some point or another, however many times it takes, essentially. That brings us to the point of that creates the shifts, because it is all part of the process. Sometimes we do need to get into those states of like, it's manifesting in the body, it's manifesting in this form, we don't want, it doesn't need to get to that point, but at the same time, then sometimes it does need to get to that point, for you to just essentially wake up to what the shift that needs to happen within you, to begin to take care of yourself properly, and just the way that you deserve, to be taken care of by you, the way that you deserve to be taken care of by you.
That's important.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's important to understand you're responsible for
Yes.
you.
You are responsible. It's your
Nobody else, nothing else, not a man in the sky, nobody's gonna come and save you.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard to accept, but this is, I mean, listen, at some point, it will get through that it is you, it is your choice. Nobody's save yourself. You are the savior. So it truly requires for you to wake up to that and accept the full accountability and responsibility over your being. And I say this to myself. I know you're hearing yourself, Veronica. It's just a process of really, really owning that and understanding that it is not outside of you. It is not out there. It is not in your next relationship. It is not in your next romantic partner. It is not in getting to the end of your, whatever your issues are with your parents or your kids or your spouse. It is not that. But these are only words. So until you experience it for yourself and can truly, feel into that and have that experience for yourself, hey, it comes as it comes. When you're ready for that, then you'll really allow yourself to give yourself the experience that you very much deserve.
Absolutely.
Wholeness, ladies.
Wholeness.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for tuning in and listening.